Hello everyone, Dylan Schumacher, Citadel Defense, and welcome back to another episode of Knight Rider. If you are unfamiliar with this series, right, this is where we slow down, we take a long time, we're going to meander a little bit, we're going to think a little bit, we're going to wander a little bit. Most of my videos that I film are very, to the point. Here, there, we try to get in and out. Sometimes I ramble, but in general, I really try not to. In this video, if you like long-form content, this is for you because we're not just trying to get in and learn something and get out. We're trying to think and linger and really probe deeper into something that sometimes just comes from meditating on it or thinking about it for a longer time. And while I'm talking, you have thoughts and that's how thinking works. So hopefully you find that helpful. If not, this probably isn't the video for you. Just going to be honest, right? This is long form thinking, deliberative content. I release these in the middle of the night for my night shift boys out there. Most of you probably just end up watching this the next day, let's be honest, which is totally fine. But again, this is to give you something to think about. And so, while you're on a long drive or you're making breakfast or you're doing whatever, kind of in a podcasty form, although I hesitate to say that because in general, I'm morally opposed to most podcasts. But hopefully you find this content helpful. So for the past couple weeks, there's been the whole ICE incidents, whatever, in Minnesota, right? ICE has been there. They've been enforcing the law. Lots of people don't like the law, so they're big mad. A couple people were shot and ended up dying as a result of their protest activities. There's the famous incident with the Renee Good, where she, struck an ICE officer. She's trying to get out of his way, and he shot her. And then there was another issue with Alex Peretti, who was also shot during protesting activities. This isn't about that. This isn't even really about the ICE stuff. The protesters went into a church in Minnesota. I used to go to that church, actually. I used to be a member there for a couple of years. And no one got arrested, or someone got arrested but then was released. I heard today, the day I'm filming this, Don Lemon was arrested. I don't know if that's true. I haven't verified that yet. If that is true, I'll be curious to see where, if anywhere, that goes, or if it's just kind of another, he'll be released in 24 hours with no real action. And I don't think that this, again, the Minnesota stuff specifically, I'm sure if you've been following that, there's plenty of content to follow on that. I'm not necessarily here to talk about Minnesota specifically. But what I am interested in, and what I have been thinking about, is the people's beliefs behind this, right? Who are doing the protesting. Your average communist, right, who's doing the protesting. And I think there are really two types of people here, okay? I think there are the street communist, and 9 times out of 10, 95 times out of 100, something like that, the street communist is a useful fool, right? A useful idiot. Well, what does that mean? Okay, well, first of all, I have collected a bunch of clips of people, and I think it's almost all women in this instance. Maybe we'll talk about that. Maybe that's a different video. I don't know. Talking about how bad ICE is and how what they're doing is so terrible. I'm going to play them for you in a minute. But before I do that, I wanted to preface it, because I don't just want you to watch this and say, look at how stupid these people are. Oh my God, they're insane. It just drives me nuts. I mean, I understand if you feel that way. But I want you to think about it deeper. Okay? As you watch this, I want you to think, what does this person, again, I think all the clips I have are of women, so what does this woman really believe? What does she really believe is true about the world? I want you to ask yourself that. There's quite a few of them here, so buckle up. And if you can always skip forward on the video, right? I guess you can always do that. But please don't. Please actually listen to it, because I want you to really think about it. I want you to linger on it. I want you to think, what do these women believe about the world? Listen to the words they're saying. Listen with the heartfelt anguish with which they're saying it. And it's easy to say they're crazy. And honestly, not saying that's not an invalid response. But again, what do they really believe? Think about that. We'll be right back.
Oh, well, she was trying to run him over. It's self-defense. I wish she was, and I wish she did. And guess what? If she did and he died, I would have celebrated, because ICE aren't people. They're fucking demons in human form.
You're having a good day? You're having a good day. You think that your little guy with the big beer belly and the little dick energy and the mask, he really owned the libs today, right? Okay. Oh, good for you. Good for you. Let me tell you. No. You've just pissed us off even more. Even more. And as a white woman that looks like that poor woman that was shot, let me tell you, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop putting myself in front of black and brown people to protect them. I'm not going to stop being empathetic. I'm not going to stop going to protest. You have just pissed me off more. Here's the thing. I'm not afraid of you. What I'm afraid of is my children and grandchildren living under fascism. Also, Emmy wanted to tell you to fuck off.
It's Civil War time. I hope you guys Democrats need to fucking stand up and start fucking fighting. You better fucking get ready to fight, or you're about to lose your fucking country. Do you guys realize that? Are you listening to what fucking JD Vance is saying right now? Are you listening? I implore you to go watch the fucking press briefing that JD Vance and fucking KK Caroline are fucking doing right now for the White House. I implore you to go fucking watch that shit and then start doing something! We are literally about to lose our fucking country. Do you guys understand this? Do you guys understand this? It is not something for you to just turn a fucking blind eye. This is not a time for you to stick your fucking head in the ground and do nothing! There are two scenarios here, okay? You've got two scenarios. You're either about to lose all your fucking rights. You're gonna lose all your rights. This country's about to turn into a fucking dictatorship, and all the women are about to lose all their fucking rights. I need you to wake the fuck up to that shit. You don't do anything, you do nothing. That's what happens. It is time to fucking fight. It is Civil War time. You guys need to wake the fuck up, stop being little fucking bitches, and start fighting the fuck back. It is time to fight!
A shithole country, America, and this is what happens because none of you would vote for a fucking woman. I hate you all. As I watch ICE agents in Minneapolis, Minnesota murder a woman in cold blood, I'm reminded that those ICE agents have joined up with that agency because they want to murder people, just like Kristi Noem wants to murder dogs. When you put murderous people in charge, then people die, and no one is going to be left untouched by this. The United States has fallen to violence. The entire Trump administration is drenched in nothing but bloodlust and violence. We are violent. We are monsters. We are destroying the planet, and we are doing it at the hands of violence because you have normalized guns, because you have normalized violence.
Round them all up. Put them in a big room that kind of looks like it could be a gas chamber. Don't actually do anything to them. They'll be fine. Don't gas chamber them, but just put them in a room and tell them that's what you're gonna fucking do to them. Watch them all cry like the little baby back bitches that they actually are on their insides and probably piss and shit their goddamn pants. Oh yeah? Is that funny? I had one of you as a little brother. I know exactly how you got the way you are. And it's because your daddy was exactly the same fucking way. You're not even your own fucking person. You're just a compilation of all the hatred that your father handed down to you, you dumb motherfucker.
I think I kind of pity right-wingers because they're so fucking boring, you know? Like, imagine not really having any curiosity about deeper and more expansive concepts. Everything's just like handed to them and they go, oh, okay, like my grandpappy didn't like black people, so I guess I don't either. Like, it's so fucking boring. Like, no real exploration of what it means to be a person or meeting other people outside of your sad, boring, hateful little bubble. I think it's kind of sad. It's a little pitiful. I'm so glad I don't have to be like that. You should be glad you don't have to be like that.
Don't come on my page and say that people should be in this country legally. Don't do it. This is ridiculous. It's inhumane. You are a human being, and don't you dare use Jesus' name or God's name in this and say that this is what he would want and pretend to be a Christian, because you're not. This is pure evil. You are scum of the earth. These are people. These are mothers. These are fathers. These are human beings. And all you care about is where they are geographically. Shame on you. Do better. Be better.
And just so we're clear, if a masked man reaches in my vehicle or stands in front of it to block it, I'm hitting the fucking gas.
And I'm just fucking curious, are we great yet? Are we fucking great yet? Are we a great country? Is this one? Is fucking great? Huh? Americans working their fucking ass off 50, 60 fucking hours a week to have nothing to show to it? Are we fucking great? Is America great where ICE agents are shooting citizens in the fucking street and the government's saying it's self-defense? Are we fucking great yet?
Hi, MAGA. My MAGA friends. I'm just kidding. I'm not friends with MAGA people. No, thank you. But I do have a very serious question for you. I had a pretty long ride from where I just was, and my brain just, I don't even have the radio on most of the time. I'm just in there thinking. And I was just wondering, why you guys hate everything. Why do you hate America? Why are you cool with just sitting and watching the Democratic Republic burn to the fucking ground? And you're not even watching, you're cheering it on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We love to suffer, yeah, because you're gonna also suffer under this authoritarian fascist fever dream. Because you just pretend that you are patriots and you love the Constitution and you love America, but everything you do and say just kind of says the opposite. It says that, the math doesn't math, you know what I mean? So I was like, why do they hate America so much? How'd that happen? Why do you hate so many different kinds of people? Why do you hate women? Why do you hate single women? Why do you really hate single women who have cats? Forget if they have fucking blue hair. You're gonna stay up at night. You can't even get past it. I don't know why. They don't have nothing to do with you. I don't get it.
Today I learned a valuable lesson. If you're gonna go patrol ICE in your vehicle, it's probably best that you have a co-pilot. And your dog isn't a good co-pilot. Kiba and I went out driving around and we came across a convoy of 3 to 4 ICE vehicles stopped in front of a fucking daycare because, yeah, they're here investigating fraud, right? Then why does it fucking matter if I stop my vehicle in the middle of the street and I honk my horn? Maybe I'm having a fucking mental health episode, you know? But what did they do? They first of all, one of the agents looked at me and he goes, that was before I even started honking. I literally just pulled up on him and was fucking staring. When other people started honking, I started honking. I sat there and I laid on the horn, and then there was a very loud banging at the back of my car, and before I knew it, there was a person on my driver's side window with their fucking gun, their big fucking gun, telling me to get the fuck out of here. And I did. And I think I'm more angry and frustrated by this than I am scared. I'm pissed that I have to back down because you have a gun.
In order to dismantle white supremacy, we have to be willing to lose the benefits of whiteness. Means they kill us too. That's what that means. And it's time for some radical acceptance about that, guys. That's what it's going to take to dismantle white supremacy, is losing the benefits of the system. So we can't be so shocked as white people continue to die.
Like, I actually don't have a single friend who is like thrilled with how their husband is reacting to all this. Most of them are describing their husbands as ostriching, sticking their heads in the sand and pretending like nothing is happening. Meanwhile, my friends, their wives, are trying to figure out, how are we going to continue normal life for our children through this? How are we going to prepare and protect ourselves? And their husbands are like, stop being so emotional. You're overreacting. I mean, do we see what's happening? Hello. It's time to wake up. Protect your family. Like, my friends are losing complete faith in their partners at this point. The divorces that are going to happen after all this, it's going to be an unprecedented number because you all are failing your families.
So, I know that was a little much, right? But again, thinking about it, right? What do they really believe? When I say that the average street communist is a useful idiot, or 95 times out of 100 they're a useful idiot, they're foolish. What do I mean? I mean that they are misled. Right? They are misled. They are believing something that isn't true. And they are applying true principles, desires for justice, desires for fairness, desires for righteousness. Those are good desires. And they're taking those good desires, and it's been warped, twisted, manipulated, lied to apply it to these things that are not true. Right? Just basic math. I know this is tough for some people. This might even make some people mad. People that came into the country illegally don't belong here. They're not citizens. They don't have the same rights that citizens have. They should be deported, every single one of them, full stop. Okay? Now, that, up until about 30 seconds ago in human history, was a fairly standard practice. I think we can all agree on that. If you're watching this, you can agree on that. Maybe you slipped in here and you don't agree with that, in which case I don't think you're going to enjoy the rest of this video. But, right? I mean, so for example, Julius Caesar, started one of his skirmishes, wars, or whatever, in Gaul because there was a great mass migration of people. And all these people, and we're talking, tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of people, were trying to cross into Rome. Now, there's different historical debates of why they want to do that. Maybe they were being driven by other people, and maybe they were more like refugees and less like an invading army. But Caesar didn't care. They fought a war, they fought some battles, and they ended up fighting a war, and he killed lots of them. Now you could say, oh my God, that's terrible. Where's the compassion? Where's the sense of morality? Where's the two things on that? One, you only believe in compassion and justice and morality like you do about that topic because of the gospel, because of the Bible, because that's a biblical worldview that you've either willingly or unwillingly borrowed from. Probably a different video to talk about that, but I just want to note it. Second thing, Caesar didn't have that. 3, what he did have, which I would argue is a good thing, is a love of his country. You could say, oh, it was a love of his own glory, and it was about himself. And that's a fair debate, and we can have that. But what I am saying is, there was an understanding in all of human history, right? To transgress this nation's border is a problem. There have to be reasons that you transgress someone's border. Same thing for coming into your house, right? Not anyone is just allowed to wander into your house. The police can't even just wander into your house, right? There has to be reasons. There has to be precedents. There has to be legalities. Every culture ever, as far as I know, maybe under the communists there were some exceptions, although probably not. They probably still had different laws. They were just crooked laws. The police can't just wander into your house. Someone can fact check me on that, I guess. But the vast majority, it's safe to say, can't just wander into your house. It's not an open border. But what these people believe, again, to their core, like in their soul, down to their bones, they believe it, is that to eject people from the country that are here illegally is immoral. It's immoral. It's evil. It's evil on par with the great boogeyman of our history, right? The Nazis, right? It's deeply evil. And the only reason that you would remove people who are in your nation illegally is because you're evil. Because you're a racist or a bigot or power hungry or a fascist or pick your term, right? That's the only reason you would ever do that. Because if you were truly a moral, upstanding, compassionate, virtuous human being, you would never even conceive of removing these people. That wouldn't be in the furthest reaches of your mind. You would do everything you can to accommodate them and welcome them and comfort them and give them your tax dollars. And if you do anything other than that, it's obviously because you're a racist. That's what these people genuinely believe. You can call it crazy, which I would, and I don't agree with it, and there are a variety of reasons, but that's what they really believe to their core. I would argue, and I'm trying to steelman their position as much as I can, and so you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but again, that's really what I think they would say, right? And I would argue that makes them foolish. That makes them gullible. That makes them susceptible to manipulation. Now, you could point out the contradictories. Oh, where was your care for justice when they were forcibly injecting things into your body? Oh, where was your care for justice when they were firing people for not getting the COVID shot? Oh, where was your care for justice when, Biden was persecuting white people? But that misses the point. It misses the point not because it's incorrect or not because it's not a fair comparison. It is. It misses the point because these people aren't holding up their level, like a job site level, right, of morality to any particular object to check where the bubble floats. That's not what they're doing. What they're doing is they're just acting on the belief that, again, bone deep belief that this is righteous. Levels be damned. Again, like objective viewing of the situation and consistent principles isn't the point to this kind of person. They're being carried along by someone lying to them and convincing them that this is the morally righteous thing to do. And if you don't do it, then you're not morally righteous. Then you have a degree of evil in your heart. Again, Christian concept, by the way, to have evil on the inside. Right? That's a Christian idea. Pretty much all moral codes throughout all history have to do with your actual actions. Christianity is the only one that I know of that talks about internal motivations. And so they've taken that principle, that desire for righteousness, that thirst, and it's been twisted and just pointed at this thing that's actually a good thing to be doing, removing illegal people from your nation. So much for the fool, right? That's what I think the vast majority of these people are out there doing. They're just the foolish people that are caught up in the lie, that are being herded like sheep to be useful. Then you have the other 5% of the street communists. And these are the street communists who know what they're doing. They're intentionally there to cause problems. I saw a clip the other day. If I can find it again, I will cut it in right after I get done telling the story. But where this ICE officer is standing with like a crowd of people, and someone throws an object from over here at him, right? And again, when you watch this, you probably already know this, but all of these protests and things, like they're blowing whistles and they're banging drums and they're trying to create as much emotional stress and like heightened state so that they can try to push these people, the ICE agents, over the edge and get them to do something like a Boston Massacre kind of act, right? And then catch it on video. And if they can get them to react wrong and catch it, well, then now you got a propaganda piece. And that's what the useful fools are for. They're there to take the bullets, right? They're there to be loud and be a mass of people and be in their face and cause problems and get them to do something wrong so that we can capture it and use it as a propaganda piece to convince even more people, oh my gosh, look at how terrible these ICE agents are. They're just shooting U.S. citizens for expressing their rights. That's the play. So anyways, I saw this video. This ICE agent standing there. There's all the noise, there's all the stuff. Some object comes in, right? He's threw something at him to, again, hopefully try to get him to react and defend himself and do something and shoot somebody or whatever. The guy who threw that's not a useful fool. He knew what he was doing, right? That's one of the malicious, elite street communists who's there with purpose and intent and malice, who knows he's lying, who knows what he's doing, who's trying to push this thing over the edge so that one of the little sheeple takes a bullet and then his buddy who's filming it can capture that and push it, right? And so you have your NCOs, right? You have your non-commissioned officers. You have the people who are there to drive the sheeple. They're there to build the networks. They're there to write the training manuals. They're on the street pushing people, right? They're on the street saying, hey, we got to go over here and do this, and they're rallying people. That's the whole thing. Let's just take a small detour here because we can do that in these videos. All of this is being funded by your taxes. You know that. I know that. Right? They have multiple charities, 501c3 charities set up. All your favorite people, of course, are donating to those charities. Your tax dollars are going to that charities. You're paying for this. Different government grants are going to these charities. And they're spending that money to get people out there, to pay full-time organizers, to write these training manuals, to provide this training. And then the useful fools come along and just donate their time. They just show up to do the protests because they care about their neighbors. With some tenacity and funding, you can do a lot. And that's what they're doing, right? You're paying for it. And then on top of that, you have the limp, weak, impotent, feckless cowards at the top levels here who keep betraying the promises, right? Trump, of course, being one of them. But these people that won't follow through, right? That's, of course, just maddening beyond all belief. It's like, hey, I actually did vote for this. I did vote for mass deportations. Where are they? I'm sure you feel that. Side note caveat there. But it's frustrating, isn't it? Like, it's just maddening. And we live in this time of this anarcho-tyranny thing again. I thought this was going to end under the Biden administration. Because under the Biden administration, it was pretty bad, right? We had 2020, which was 5 years ago, by the way, where there are riots in the streets. You know, stay at home unless you're going out to protest. Wear a mask, get a shot. And if a maskless, unvaccinated person loots your house or your store, well, that sucks for you, you know. But they're protesting, and it was anarcho-tyranny. You're oppressed by the dirty thugs, criminals in the street. The government won't arrest or prosecute the criminals in the street. But if you were to do the same thing, or if you were to defend yourself against that, there's a SWAT team there in a heartbeat, right? There's the January 6th treatment for you. There are teams of FBI agents being on their way right now to arrest you for brandishing your firearm when there are 3 people trying to kick your door in, right? Anarcho-tyranny. Worst place to be. And we're seeing a lot of that because of the weak leadership, because of the betrayal and the promises. So the anarchy gets turned up with your tax dollars, right? And the foolish, the street fool communist and the elite communist who knows what he's doing. The anarchy gets turned up. They don't get prosecuted. They don't get arrested. There's not problems with them. But if you were to defend yourself, or you were to do something different, or you were to do the same thing, hope you got a good lawyer. And then it won't be enough. Right? Like that you feel that. Like, I think about that incident in Minnesota with the church thing, right? Allegedly, there were the protesters in there were blocking the parents from going to pick their kids up. If you don't go to church regularly, you should. Usually there's a childcare thing at most churches. And so you can drop your little kids off at like a Sunday school kind of thing, or at some kind of childcare, so that everybody can sit in the service and it's a little less distracting. There's different debates on if that's a good idea or not, or whatever. Not going into that, okay? Point is that's a common thing in almost all American churches. And City's Church had something like that, which is great. And allegedly, there were people, the protesters, blocking parents from going to pick their kids up from that. If you were to block me from retrieving my children in the middle of a chaotic event like that, I'm not sure I can say on camera what would happen. But I can assure you it would not be pleasant. Right? And by the way, it's legally justifiable. Now, in that case in Minnesota, if someone would have visited the unpleasantness upon said protester, how do you think that would have gone? Right? Again, teams of FBI agents. All of a sudden there's a lot of police response now. Anarcho-tyranny. Worst place to be. Very difficult. Very bad. Shows that we're at the end of the empire. Okay? So, circling back here, we've gone down a couple tangents. But that's why we're here. Foolish communists who, again, lied to, deceived, doesn't know any better, thinks they're being righteous, will ostracize their siblings or their cousins or their nieces or nephews or aunts or uncles or whoever because they're not righteous. They don't believe in defending the poor and the immigrant. How dare they? Racist, right? That kind of deal. And then the malicious, purposeful, smart thinking street leader communist. Who knows what they're doing? And then, of course, you have the top dog communists. Right? You have the Nancy Pelosi's, you have the Chuck Schumers, you have the Tim Walz's or the Jacob Freys. You have the people that are pulling the strings, who sit behind an office desk, who say things to decry the outrage and the violence, right? But, wink, wink, nod, nod, we're not really going to do anything about it. And also, we need to love people and respect people. The Tim Walz's who call up the National Guard to serve coffee and donuts to protesters. That really happened. You can look that up. Right? The people at the top who are pulling the levers, pulling the strings, who benefit the most from the system. Usually it's about money. Money's a pretty good motivator for a lot of people, right? But you have these repeated, you have this tiered system. And of course the best place to be is to be a useful street communist and graduate to a behind-the-desk communist, and then you get the payout. You put in all the time and the work and the effort, and you get the payout. And that kind of thing, the upper echelon communist level, well, what do they believe? Well, again, greed is a powerful motivator. Your own prestige and power and influence and money, that's all seductive. That's all very seductive. So let's not act like that's somehow not a thing. And again, we live in an interesting time in history, maybe not an interesting time, but we live in a time in history where the interests of me as the individual, if I'm a congressman and I want to benefit myself, is the most beneficial thing to do for me to seek the interests of the nation? Or is it to treat the nation as a piggy bank, like a piñata, and beat it until it gives me candy? Well, right now, the incentives for me to beat it like a piñata certainly outweigh the incentives for me to serve it faithfully, right? All of the social, moral, financial rewards are not in serving the country faithfully, are not in sacrificing for the greater good like Cincinnatus or George Washington, who was called an American Cincinnatus. If you don't know who Cincinnatus is, the city of Cincinnati is named after him. Roman dictator, very famous for being a rural farmer man, taking the powers of the dictator to save the nation, and then giving the powers back up, going back to live on his farm. He did it twice. Can you imagine someone being given total power and relinquishing it just to go back to work on their farm? Not just once, but twice? What do you have to believe to do that? Well, you have to believe in virtue and the goodness of your nation. You have to really actually believe in serving the nation and your people, and believe that carries more honor than benefiting yourself. You have to believe that to your core, to your soul. Because you're not tempted by power, because that's not what you're here for. You're not here to get power. You're here to fix a problem. Problem's been fixed. I don't need the power anymore. I'm going back to my cabbages. See you later. Right? That's what you have to believe to do that. Where's that belief today? And so, because the interests of the elite are opposed to the interests of the nation, and therefore the larger people base at large, right? This is what we get. We get foolish people lied to, led to make bad choices by elite street communists who are funded, supported, picked, nurtured by behind-the-desk communists, so that the behind-the-desk communists can make more money, get more power, get more stuff. Materialism it's a hell of a drug. And the whole time, you're the one who pays the money for it. So, when your aunt makes that Facebook post about how no human being is illegal and, how could ICE do this and it's so immoral and evil and, blah, 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 blah. There should be a part of you that should pity her. I'm not saying you shouldn't be mad. I'm not saying you shouldn't be frustrated. But again, what is she believing? She's believing the lie. The lie that you paid for. Right? She's believing she's a fool. She's being led astray. And so I don't think that the way out of this is by convincing the fool. Although, there are some times that's a good idea. I think the way out of this is we have to defeat the communists. The real drivers. All the people, again, 98% of them out in the streets, doing the protesting, doing the thing. They're just fools.